Everybody loves Disney movies. From kids to adults, pretty much everyone seems to love getting lost in the fun stories, characters, and songs from the world of Walt Disney. These movies are also famously stuffed with hidden Easter eggs, messages, and references. And over the years, they've led to some pretty awesome and convincing theories. We've gathered some of the best ones for our list of 10 Disney movie theories that actually make sense. Enjoy this video, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more awesome Screen Rant content every single day. Snow White dies. Snow White is the oldest feature-length animated Disney movie, and it famously ends with a nice happily ever after scenario, or so we thought. It turns out that Snow White's Prince Charming may not be who we all assumed he was after all. One well-respected theory suggests that instead of the knight in shining armor everyone thought he was, he's actually the Grim Reaper, who has arrived to escort Snow into the afterlife. This theory is pretty creepy, and definitely not great for kids, but when you consider the dark origins of most fairy tales, it totally makes sense. Ariel's mom. Disney is no stranger to Easter eggs and hidden messages, but this one must have taken some serious planning, as the two movies came out 30 years apart. The mermaids in Peter Pan may have been forgettable, but when you look closely, you can see that one of them has bright red hair and greatly resembles Ariel. We never get to meet Ariel's mother in The Little Mermaid. We do get to learn that her name is Athena, and the mermaid in Peter Pan is never named, meaning her name could conceivably be Athena. It's also revealed that Athena was killed by pirates, and the mermaid in Peter Pan would have been around while Captain Hook was at large. So it's definitely possible that he offed her. Andy's mom in Toy Story. The action of the series mainly follows the toys of Toy Story, but as it turns out, one of the most interesting and convincing theories from this franchise is all about the owner of the toys. In Toy Story 2, fans found out that Jessie was originally owned by a girl named Emily before she was sadly given away, but many fans have pointed out that the movie seems to indicate that Emily is actually the mother of Andy, who of course owns all the main toys. In the first story, Andy is playing with Woody while wearing Jessie's hat, the same one Emily played with when she was younger. Since 30 years have passed since Emily gave Jessie away, the age makes sense. This seems far too convenient to not be true, and we're happy that it gives Jessie a happy ending to her story.
Cold never bothered me anyway.
Elsa and Anna are Rapunzel's cousins. This is one of the most famous theories on the list, and by this point, it's pretty much been accepted as the truth. Rapunzel and Eugene are very clearly seen arriving at Elsa's coronation, and considering they don't live in Arendelle, they must be very important guests. Also, both Rapunzel and Elsa are blonde, and both have powers that look pretty but are somewhat unorthodox. This would also explain why the king was so tough on Elsa about her powers, as he would have seen his niece imprisoned for having powers and would want to protect her.
Rule number 3! I can't bring people back from the dead. It's not a pretty picture. I don't like doing it!
Future Aladdin. Aladdin is one of the most beloved Disney movies of all time, but it turns out that fans may be mistaken as to when the action of the film takes place. At the beginning of the film, the genie complains that 10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck.
10,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck!
He then spends the rest of the movie making references to modern culture, such as Jack Nicholson and Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, unless the magic lamp has been sitting in front of a TV in the Cave of Wonders, we have to assume Aladdin takes place 10,000 years from now. This theory also suggests that the action takes place in a post-apocalyptic, post-war Middle East. None of this really changes the plot of the movie, but it's definitely fun to think about. Ariel and Hercules are cousins. This theory is very easy to believe, as long as you have a basic understanding and appreciation of Greek mythology. In The Little Mermaid, Ariel's father is King Triton, who is famously the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea. This would make Poseidon Ariel's grandfather. Greek mythology also says that Poseidon is the brother of Zeus, who is, of course, the father of Hercules, both in the movie and in the mythology. This means that King Triton and Hercules are first cousins, making Ariel and Hercules first cousins once removed. With all these crazy characters in the one family, that's definitely a reunion we would want to be invited to.
Don't worry, Your Highness, I gotcha. You're safe now.
The Emperor's Dark Groove. Some Disney movies are intentionally dark, but it's also been pretty well understood that The Emperor's New Groove is just a fun movie with a goofy llama and a ridiculous villain, right? Well, it turns out The Emperor's New Groove has a really dark side that has slipped past viewers for years. While Kuzco is walking through the jungle, he sees a fly get eaten, only that fly wasn't just a fly, it was a human who had been turned into a fly. This is known because only animals who have once been human are able to speak in the movie, and Kuzco can clearly hear the fly scream. Essentially, if all of this checks out, this scene features the brutal murder of a human child.
Congratulations, San Francisco! You've ruined pizza!
Bing Bong Lives! Inside Out was a major hit in 2015, and it was no surprise when it took home the Academy Award for Best Animated Film. While many of the main characters in the film were literally emotions, the most emotional character in the movie was Bing Bong. His ultimate sacrifice and his death brought a truly heartbreaking moment. But don't be too sad, because it turns out that it may have actually not happened at all. Why? Because a great fan theory suggests that Riley's imaginary friend Bing Bong is actually from Monsters, Inc., and Monsters, Inc. is set after Inside Out. By this logic, Bing Bong must live on in one way or another.
Surprise!
Gothel and the Evil Queen. There is a very popular Disney theory that does a lot to prove that the Evil Queen from Snow White and Gothel from Tangled are actually the same person. Right off the bat, the physical similarities are uncanny. If that doesn't convince you, consider that Mother Gothel has a dagger in a box, which looks a lot like the dagger in the box that the Evil Queen gives to the huntsman in Snow White. Both women are completely obsessed with beauty and staying young, too. Disney doesn't really do anything by accident in their movies, so we think it's very likely that all these clues prove this theory. Tarzan's Jane is descended from Princess Belle. When you take a look at Belle from Beauty and the Beast and Jane from Tarzan, you must admit that they look strikingly similar, especially with those matching yellow outfits. It seems that the connection may not be without reason. In a scene in Tarzan, Turk is drumming on a tea set. The pot looks suspiciously like Mrs. Potts from Beauty and the Beast, and one of the teacups even appears to have a small chip. Sound familiar? Some have speculated that could mean that it was an heirloom passed down through the family from Belle. If this theory is true, and we think about the current adaptations of these stories, that would mean that Emma Watson is playing the great-grandmother of Margot Robbie. Talk about good genetics. So there's our list of 10 Disney movie theories that actually make a lot of sense. How many of these ideas do you believe? Have you heard any other crazy Disney movie theories? Let us know in the comments section below, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more fun videos like this one.